Our next guest we are pleased to have right here in our studio. He is Gerard Moore, who is the Deputy District Director for Congressman Danny K. Davis of the 7th Congressional District. And he's also a candidate for public office. We're going to ask him about that, too. But this is a young man who I'm so happy to have met before, and we know that he is on top of things. And the discussion, first let me say hello to you. He's here in the studio. How are you?
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Absolutely. The discussion is about millennials honoring our veterans and becoming more engaged and proactive in our communities. And this is a young man who certainly is attempting to do that. Well, he is doing it for one of our great public officials. We're talking about Congressman Danny K. Davis of the 7th District.
Yes,
And if you weren't doing the job, you wouldn't be there.
I wouldn't be there.
That's right. He'd make sure of that, wouldn't he?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's why I had the honor of meeting you before, because
Yes.
because the congressman was very supportive of America's Heroes Group. So tell us about the millennials honoring the veterans and becoming more engaged.
Well, over the last 12 years, I've worked as the Deputy District Director to Congressman Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And in that role, I dealt with the veterans population. So
Sure.
we had veterans come in with a lot of different issues. That's why I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate your service and the sacrifice that you've made that we enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy today.
Thank you, sir.
I think millennials need to pay more attention to our veterans, not just the millennials, but I think everyone needs to pay more attention to our veterans. For a person to sacrifice their life for the whole country and you see them homeless on the Wacker Drive, I think that's a problem. And we have to do something about that. Definitely do.
I'm glad you're saying that, because there's a lot of folks, Gerard, that you know, because you're doing it because that's what you do
Exactly.
with the congressman's office. But a lot of people are even unaware of what you're saying.
Yeah,
That
it's
those
sad.
are home, yeah.
It's sad. So for me, what I think we need to do, what I would suggest that more people get behind, is putting more mental health, more funding into mental health. A lot of our veterans, they go away and they don't come back the same. And we need more wraparound services for veterans. I was having a conversation with someone last week, and a guy came into my office. He's suffering from drug addiction. And he was when he got out the service, he had a less than honorable discharge because of a drug addiction. When he went into the service, he didn't have a drug addiction. But after being in the service, he got a drug addiction. So I'm one who would say that is what I would call service-connected injury.
I agree.
And I don't think that should hinder them from receiving their benefits because they got a drug addiction, if they got it due to the pressure,
Right.
due to the environment of being in the service.
And you know, not only are you right, Mr. Moore, but I know people that are exactly in the situation you mentioned. They went in, they didn't have a drug situation, but, you know, the pressures and so forth, particularly if you're in combat and situations like that, there's a lot of things you'll do that you never thought, you know.
So you served in Vietnam?
Yeah, right.
How was that experience?
Let's talk about something else. We want to talk about what you're being able to do to help these folks.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Let's do. So, and working with the congressman, I know, you know, he's very supportive of our group, and we appreciate that. And you are really out there as the district director for the congressman, just helping all kinds of not just people, but veterans. Yeah.
You mentioned that today was Dory Miller Day.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So Sale Dunlap,
Right.
who's a veteran.
Yep.
I've been
Good
very
guy.
involved with Sale Dunlap when he was trying to get the stamp for Dory Miller.
Exactly.
And when I heard the story about Dory Miller, I was amazed. He was on this ship, African-American guy.
Right.
They wanted to keep him hid away, and he ended up being a guy who saved the whole ship.
Shooting down these planes who
Exactly.
he hadn't been trained to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dory Miller. So
Yeah. And of course the congressman and others, the Congressional Black Caucus has been very still working on, as you know, Gerard, and trying to get him. He got all kind of medals, but he didn't get the Medal of Honor.
Right.
And he should have gotten that. So,
They still working on it.
exactly.
They still working on
Congressional
it.
Black Caucus, along with the Congressman Davis and others,
Yes.
are working on that. So I just think it's great what you're doing out there. So when you go out and do your job in the district and so forth, and we should say this too, that you're running for state office
Yes.
and as a state rep. What are the things that you see that are the most important?
As it relates to veterans?
Both.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, as
because
it
a
relates
lot of
to,
those folks you're talking to
Yeah.
out there, many of them are going to become veterans who not. Some of them have been, but then they're. In fact, let me ask you that first, because you talk to a lot of young people. Millennial. How many folks, since we don't have a draft, how many people, Gerard, really want to go into the armed services?
I wouldn't say it's a lot
Yeah.
of people that want to go
I
into it
didn't think
because
so.
of the negative connotation that come with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important. It's a poem that I want to share with you that sums up my opinion
Sure.
about veterans. It's actually called The Veteran, okay? It is the veteran, not the preacher, who give us freedom of religion.
Mm.
It is the veteran, not the reporter, who give us the freedom of the press. It is the veteran, not the poet, who give us the freedom of speech. It is the veteran, not the campus organizer, that give us the freedom to assemble. It is the veteran, not the lawyer, who give us the right to fair trial. It is the veteran, not the politician, who give us the right to vote. It is the veteran who salutes the flag, who serves under the flag, whose coffin is draped by that flag. It is the veteran. So I think the veteran is the reason why we're here on air right now. You name it, anything that happens in America, it's because of the veteran. It's because someone sacrificed their life so that we can enjoy whatever freedoms we seamlessly enjoy right now. So the veterans, we don't hold them to a high enough regard, in my opinion. We need to do more. We need more services for veterans. I really believe that. And I will continue to be an advocate for that, whether I'm elected to an office or not.
All right, who wrote that? I mean, that's.
It's just a little poem that I live by when it comes to veterans, because I've been doing it for the last 12 years.
Yeah, I know.
Doing stuff around veterans, and
well, that's great.
And they come in with you never know what you get when they walk in the door. They may come in calm, and they may end a whole nother way, or they may come in wild and they may end calm. But I've over the years, I gained a lot of patience for that population because I understand what they've been through and what they experience. So I appreciate them.
I think that's wonderful. Our call-in number is 312-374-8130. We have a caller. Tommy, how are you?
Well, Cliff, as usual, it's always great to hear your voice.
Thank you, sir.
And Cliff, at the time I was just a kid, man. But if I had ever had any clue about Canadian sunset, man, where would I have been today, Cliff? Because this was the melodious sound that permeated throughout our communities when it was a such thing as a village. But, Cliff, the thing that strikes me as being the epitome of hypocrisy is the fact that black people do not recognize and understand truly who Dorian Miller is and what his contribution was. This was a black man who was treated, as most black servicemen, as being only a subservient servant. Mm-hmm. He was allocated to the kitchen crew, and black people were told that they were unintelligible and could not learn or master the art of combat. Period. Gunnery. Period. Mm-hmm. So when the infamous day of Pearl Harbor takes place, and he sees his comrades being blown to hell, this man, who would do anything that any other individual would do under that circumstance, because you know well, as you spoke to the gentleman and said, let's not talk about Vietnam, because you know Cliff, that when the bullets start flying, there are two kind of people. There's those that duck, and then those who shoot back. So this gentleman got on the gun, and shot back. And it would take this country 50 years to give him his medal. But the sad thing about it is, when I say to you that black people don't know who this man is and what he really stands for, he once again stood for the very fact that black people were not only intelligent, but given the opportunity or take the opportunity, they would do or best what was served as a historical norm of what a black man could do. So what did they turn around and do, Cliff? They let this guy go for a few months on war bonds, and then they put him back on a ship out in the Pacific somewhere and sunk the hell out of him, so black people would never even know who he was.
That's true.
This is it's the absolute epitome of hypocrisy that we are not stomping and raising hell at the simple fact that if a black serviceman goes into a combat situation, does and goes on and beyond the call of duty, you gave Purple Hearts to people who were sleeping dead. This man went out and fought, shot down planes, showed that black men could not only do this, and did it with no training, and you still wouldn't let him do any. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot. They increased his rank. So now he was over the rest of the colors on the boat. Oh, I know I'm an angry black man. Goodbye, Cliff.
Tommy, you're great. You're great. Isn't he great?
Man, he's
Tommy's right on point, because that's exactly what happened. And it's a shame, because we're still fighting, of course, to get a Medal of Honor, because this man certainly deserved it. And of course, Congressman Davis and Danny Davis and others, Congressional Black Caucus, they're still working on that. So hopefully that'll happen.
I think it will.
Yeah, I think it will too. Because as Tommy mentioned, which a lot of people don't know, he requested to go back in the service, didn't have to, and the ship he was on then got sunk. This is Dory Miller Day, and Tommy, my goodness. Can we say much more? 312-374-8130, and then Tommy never lets us down, that's for sure. So what else do we need to know?
Well, as it relates to veterans, I would encourage more young people to get it. What I also do, as it relates to veterans, we nominate 10 people every year to go into the academies.
Great.
So
military academies.
$450,000 scholarships.
Isn't that great?
They are great. So what happened, I went to Annapolis, Maryland, to visit the Naval Academy. It wasn't a lot of people that looked like me.
No, I know it.
And so that's why I never understand why a lot of officers weren't black, but now I see that they got to go through the academy in order to become officers. So I make a conscious effort every year to nominate more and more African-American men and women to get into the service academy. A lot of them don't even know about the service academies.
Did you see, I'm sure you did, Gerard, doing what you do, those 6 black women? They graduated from West Point.
Yes, that was great.
Wasn't that great?
It was a beautiful
6 black
scene
women
to see,
in the same, in the same class. And then the class before that, the leader was a black woman.
Wow.
Yeah, the class before, the head person was that's education that is just great, as you point out.
So I think it's important to educate more young people about the different academies, because that's very important. Education is top flight.
Yeah.
It's equivalent to Harvard.
And you go out and you're finding people, and the congressman can recommend people to the military academy.
Yeah, so we have 90% of the people that we appoint get the nomination.
Isn't that great?
90%. If they don't meet the qualifications initially, they have prep schools in place for them. So so that's a great thing, to get more young people engaged and educate them about the academies. I think that's very important.
That's great. Glenda, you wanted to say something?
Absolutely. I wanted to...
Our executive producer, Glenda Smith.
He knows me quite well.
I know he does. I'm talking to the people listening.
Mr. Cali. I want to salute our advisory board member, Congressman Danny Davis, because he has been working diligently with America's Heroes Group from day one.
That's right.
No matter when I've gone over to the office, if he's busy, He'll ask me to either call him back, make an appointment, or whatever to address whatever needs we're trying to find out in terms of veterans. Because he has a lot of homeless veterans in his area. And he is serious about trying to see how he can work in the community with America's Heroes Group to help reduce some of that. And so I want to publicly also thank Gerard, because every time I've come over, once again, yes. Gerard, you got jokes on the air, right? Okay. Unannounced. That's what I'm trying to say. Unannounced. They make room for us, America's Heroes Group, because they understand the seriousness of the plight of veterans.
That's great.
So Gerard has been helping this group as well, in concert with Congressman Danny Davis as his district director, to see how we can help to reduce this problem, especially on the west side, because it is heavily populated with homeless veterans.
Definitely.
So I bumped into Gerard not too long ago, and automatically said, "Glenda, the holidays is coming up. What do you think we should do? What can we do?" So I told him, "Let me think about it and let me get back with you, because we know they're gonna need some socks, some blankets, something. We got to do something." So I applaud him once again for his being as young as he is, but he thinks.
Well, after that conversation, I was able to get 500 pairs of socks donated, and I will bring them to you, and you can donate them to the veterans over the holiday season.
Well, we can do it together.
Okay.
We could just go, and not only that, but we can get other supplies too,
Yeah,
because it should.
definitely.
Yeah, but once again, Congressman Danny Davis' office steps up, steps up completely. So. Because Cliff, you and I know now, we've had people make commitments to this organization that has not kept them.
One thing about this is going to be interesting. I don't know how the congressman is going to be able to replace Gerard after he goes to the state legislature.
Well, I think there's a lot of young people around with great minds.
Sure.
The congressmen have done a
But
great
you get
job
my
to
point,
do that.
though, don't you?
I get the point. I get the point. But there's a lot of work to do.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of work to do in Springfield. There's a lot of work to do
And
here.
you're going to do well there.
Definitely.
I believe you will.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And so I want to thank Sharita, because she seriously, every last one of Miss Josie, Sharita, Crystal, they absolutely just stop what they doing. They give me that look like, once again, you have come in here unannounced. I'm sorry, but we're trying to find out some veteran information, and they automatically jump into. So I love them. I love them, because that office, his staff, Congressman Danny Davis, they care about veterans in the community. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
That's great. That's great. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again, our call-in number, 312-374-8130. This is why I just love this organization, obviously, to be a part of it, because we see veterans, and when you have people like the congressman, and just saying it and doing it, being in Congress is a lot of work. So one of the major things there is who you appoint to certain positions. And with him appointing you in your position, as a district, a deputy district director, has enabled, that office to do a lot of things for veterans that otherwise just wouldn't happen.
Definitely. I've
Yeah.
had cases, people who was waiting on their benefits.
Sure.
People that served in the Vietnam War, black veterans.
Yep.
I helped them get $60,000, $70,000 in retroactive pay.
That's great.
I had people come in that needed their RE code change because of they was addicted to a substance while they was in that. And the same fight that I'm telling you about right now, I say with Marilyn Haywood and different people down there at the VA. I let them know the importance of understanding that these people didn't have a drug addiction prior to going into the service, because you would have never let them in.
There's one thing, I say this, and you would recognize, Gerard, the reason I say it. For the first time, I've heard on the radio, just before 4th of July, it said, if you are going to be exploding fireworks, think of the children. They've always said that. But this time, for the first time, I heard him say, think of the children and the veterans. A lot of folks don't know that. I mean, veterans have. I know a gentleman who he has a helicopter. He gets. I mean, he's not going to go out and do anything, but there's still an impact. And folks need to always think of that if they can. So that's why I think it's great that when the congressman has somebody like you to look after not only the veterans but all of the things that you do. Do you have at this point anything that really is going to be something you're going to push in the legislature?
Mental health.
Great.
Is number one on my list.
Mental health.
Mental health, because I believe most actions begin in the mind. I don't think no one is born evil. It's what's been put into you. I think we all born with an empty cup. And as we go through our life, different things is put in it, whether it's negative or positive, and that become the result of the individual. So we need to put more funding in mental health. I agree with the teachers wholeheartedly when they talk about these wraparound services for the schools, more counselors and social workers. I agree with them. I've been saying that for years and years. We need more support for our teachers. My father was murdered when I was 11 years old, Cliff. 11, on Saturday. And on Monday, I had to go to school.
Oh, man.
I mean, I had to go to school. No counselors in place, no wraparound services in place to deal with that mental trauma. We need more resources.
Your dad was murdered.
Was murdered, yes. And we need more resources for that. I was fortunate.
Yeah.
I was able to make it through college, graduate, and work for Congressman Davis. Congressman Davis served as a counselor type. He came to my father's funeral, told me, listen, I got you. You can be something. And I believed him. But so many young people don't have that.
Did they ever catch your dad's killer?
They called him and he back out. I actually had the opportunity to meet him. And I forgave him. Because what I didn't want to happen was that I lose my father and lose my life at the same time. Because to live with the fact of a person murdering your father and you see him and you haven't forgiven him in your heart, you got to live with that every day. You have to live with that. So I forgave him. And it felt better. It felt so much better. It was like weight off my shoulder. So there's a lot of work to do, Cliff.
Boy, you a heck of a guy.
It's a lot of work. It was tough. My mother didn't really want me to do it because she didn't want to rehash the old wounds and all of that. But it was something that I had to do for me.
Do you have any relationship with this person now?
I haven't seen him. But if I see him, I wouldn't be mad at him. Because my thing is, he took my father's life. I couldn't give him my life too. And when you live with malice in your heart,
right,
your life is gone too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're a brilliant young man, that's for sure. 312-374-8130. We are continuing with Gerard Moore, who's the Deputy District Director for Congressman Danny K. Davis, the 7th Congressional District. And he is also running for state rep in the 10th District. And when you hear what this gentleman says, you're going to know that he's going to do a great job in the legislature, because there's so much more that needs to be done. And you know what you just said, I wasn't even thinking about the situation right now, Gerard, with the problem with the teachers union and so forth. You know what you were just bringing up, that's important.
It's very important. It's impossible to teach a child if they mind somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got to get them back. We got to get them where they need. Let them know that they in the classroom. You got to think about it. These children is experiencing the same trauma that people on the battlefield is experiencing.
That's true.
But not that they don't have the resources, though. We got to give them the resources. So I understand the teachers. They need the resources. They suffering from what I like to call urban post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Urban post-traumatic stress
Living
syndrome.
in the city of Chicago, hearing the gunfire, witnessing your friends being murdered, witnessing your family members being murdered, and then tell me to go to school and read a book. My mind is somewhere else, right? I'm in survival mode. And we have to understand that is what our children is dealing with. If we really want them to have a fair chance at the American dream, we have to provide them the necessary resources that they need.
Gerard Moore, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you continue to do, and we're going to be calling you again.
thank you so much for your service, and thank you for being they call you the president or the governor of the talk show.
Yeah,
the
governor
governor
of
of the talk
right.
show.